Welcome to Plant-Based on Fire, the podcast that ignites your passion for plant-based businesses. Real Men Eat Plants is proud to host this show, where we shine a spotlight on the latest and greatest plant-based companies making waves in the industry. From startups to established brands, we'll explore what sets these businesses apart, what challenges they've faced, and what their vision for a more sustainable and ethical food future looks like. So if you're hungry for some fresh insights, inspiring stories, and a healthy dose of entrepreneurial spirit, then join us on Plant-Based on Fire, brought to you by Real Men Eat Plants.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plant-Based on Fire, where we talk about plant-based businesses and their inspiring stories to thrive in our industry. I'm your host, Bryan. I'm a fractional chief technology officer and a business coach. And joining us today are Josh and Adam, co-founders of Shire's Naturals. Welcome, Adam and Josh.
Bryan, thanks for having us.
It is so exciting to have you here. We were just talking before we chatted, and I was so excited because there's a place close to me in Charlotte I could get it, but you're saying it's not here yet. So I want to unpack that. But before we get into that and where we can get this cool product, talk to us a little bit about the background. Like, how has your personal journey with the plant-based world influenced you to start this business and get into this?
Yeah. So I'll start there. And so I was raised a vegan vegetarian for health and wellness reasons. I'm an 80s kid, so back in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of great options, but my parents were always focused on whole food plant-based. And then as I grew older, I also became lactose intolerant. They went back from vegan to vegetarian. So we were, they would bring some dairy in. My body just couldn't handle it. And, realized that the dairy alternatives that were out on the market were not healthy for you. They're oils, thickeners, and gums, a lot of inflammatory ingredients. And then Adam and I met in 2010 at a summer job. And I don't know, Adam, if you want to jump in here.
My journey has been, not quite similar. So I grew up in more like a meat and potatoes, household. And so I really didn't know how to cook plant-based, right? And I think that was a barrier. But I started really focusing on health, on raw dieting. It's kind of what got me on the track. And noticing what I put into my body and how my body was feeling, which I had never made that connection before until I sort of stopped doing dairy. And then, you inevitably try dairy again. And you're like, oh, my gosh, wow. Like, okay, so that was not normal. And around that same time, Josh and I happened to meet. And here's this guy that comes around that knows how to cook plant-based and make it actually taste good. And, it like blew my mind. And so that's really how I sort of became a convert. And I was like, okay, well, no more. It's just like, a crudité platter, for plant-based. It's, you can take all these amazing ingredients, combine them together and have something that satisfies.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, such amazing stories. I was also an 80s kid, but I was meat and potatoes too. So it's so inspiring to hear your parents raised you that way, Josh. And Adam, I'm glad you met Josh and he converted you on that journey. So you transitioned in some previous careers, I assume, into this plant food industry, or like, how was the culmination of like, hey, let's do this together?
Yeah, so we had met at the summer job, and when we realized we were both on the same page for health and wellness, we were toying around with starting a restaurant, like a plant-based focused restaurant that was whole food plant-based. And our dairy-free cheese was born from that, because we went back and saw that, once again, there's still no clean label dairy alternatives on the market, and it didn't line up with our plan of what we wanted to put out on our menu. And so during our raw dieting days, I had found an old European recipe of how you can actually ferment nuts, and it has like a cheese-like consistency to it. And so I did that first recipe, and it came out good. It was funky, had a nice texture to it. It wasn't the best. You couldn't sell it. But I was like, wow, this is really interesting that you could ferment nuts and it has like a cheese-like consistency. And that was it. I didn't have to add oils, thickeners, or gums. And so I brought it to Adam, and he tried it. And we were just like, yeah, I think this could turn into something. And so we scrapped the restaurant And we ended up building a test lab in my parents' basement in Harrisville, New Hampshire, 750 square feet. And we literally, like Adam and I had to sort of like gut everything out. And then we brought in the electrician and the plumber, but we did all of the hard work, all the dirty work. And then I spent 4 years on R&D focused around fermentation using cashews as the base. And because we're doing, what we're doing is really new. There's about 10 companies pioneering this, or there was 10 companies when we first started this in 2013. And, it took 4 years to figure out how to ferment this correctly. And that's how awesome. We got to this. And that, we stuck with the plan of we're creating healthy dairy alternatives. And we're able to
absolutely. I mean,
patient.
And that like so aligns with like when I coach different businesses and stuff, like I tell them like the first 5 years are the hardest. Like you're going to hit this moment of like, what have I been doing the past 2 years? Like, are we ever going to succeed? Are we, but like you already described a couple moments that you pivot through and some of the challenges you had. So like, what advice would you give the companies that are in that, like I call it the valley of death? Like, are we going to start selling this? Are we going to thread through this? Like, clearly you guys have made it past that stage, I feel like, and are well on your way to scaling. Talk to me about any inspiration there.
I can jump in on that one. So I saw this quote recently that I've just loved, right? And so this is not unknowingly to us, it's sort of been our motto, but it is, I will persist until I succeed. And that's really, what we started with. Josh mentions 4 years of R&D down in the basement. That was really pre-launch.
Yeah.
So there was all this homework, culminating in, okay, we have a marketable product now. And to Josh's credit, he jumped right in and said, well, how do we take this to market? And he started researching packaging, distribution, how to sell into stores, like all this stuff that we had to kind of learn on the fly, developed over that 4-year period. And then really, when we got to a place that we felt like, okay, we got something, we're growing, we're getting some traction, then we had to build out proper manufacturing. And Bryan, then we had to go to the next step, which was, well, we're not independently wealthy, spoiler alert. So we had to go out and raise money, something that we had never, experienced before in our lives. So we went to our community and we said, hey, we have this idea, here's how it's going. We have a lot to learn, but we need some capital to build proper manufacturing to be able to continue to grow. And amazingly, our community came out. We found angels and, we found angels, angels found us. We partnered with a local bank, some economic development folks. I mean, it really came together as our story is a community story with how we launched.
That is awesome. Well, congrats on the successes so far. Like, where do you sort of see the long-term vision of Shire's Naturals going, and how are you working to achieve that?
That's you, Josh.
Yeah. So, I'll bring it back to why we started this. Adam and I had no idea about the CPG space. We went into this blindly. Like I said, this was created through us wanting to start a restaurant, and then we saw what we could do with cashews through fermentation. He said, oh, this needs to go out to the world because there's no clean dairy alternatives. And so what we see with Shires is how we originally started is health and wellness focused. Our goal is to be that trusted brand that when you see Shires, the logo on any product as we continue to grow, you're going to know that there's no bad ingredients in it. It's not just another, I'm not going to put any brand names out there, but it's not another oils, thickeners, and gums dairy alternative that's filled with inflammatory ingredients. And that's our goal with this. We basically, when we're creating anything, we share it out with family and friends. And it's not just plant-based family and friends, it's everyone, right? Because we're making a product that is inclusive, that everyone can buy. You don't have to be plant-based to eat this. You're buying it because it tastes good. And the non-plant-based eaters are going to buy it if they're not trading off their health for it, and so that's our focus with Shires is we see the future of, we're that premium plant-based product, and what makes us premium is our focus is health and wellness. Make sure those ingredients are great and make sure the product obviously tastes well.
That is awesome. As again, going back to my 80s upbringing in an Italian family up in New York, like I am so looking forward to trying your ravioli because that is a really hard one to find in the plant-based world for sure. Yep. So let's switch gears slightly and just talk about like the sustainability side of this, the ethical side of it. Like how are you implementing some of those angles at Shires?
You want to jump on that, Josh, or do you want me to? Why don't I, I wanted to circle back to something that Bryan had mentioned, and then maybe you can jump on the sustainability part. You also asked, what can entrepreneurs do? What advice do we have for them? Seek out mentors and advisors as soon as possible. I think we waited a little bit longer thinking, hey, we needed to get to a specific number, number of accounts, whatever, before we started to seek help from experts. In hindsight, if we could go back in time, we would seek those experts sooner. We brought on 3 amazing strategic advisors over the last year. And they have been helping us transform the business, transform our way of thinking, how we go forward. Some names some folks that help build the natural product, really industry. Bob Burke, Rick Antonelli, and Elliot Began. And these guys have been instrumental in how we go forward. And I cannot stress enough to just go find those folks that have done it before you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, what's your thoughts on the sustainability side of things?
Yeah, we're a plant-based cheese company. Does it get any more sustainable than not using other ingredients to make a cheese?
That's right. What, I guess if we look at like the industry challenges as we move forward, what do you see as some of the market trends and some of the challenges that the plant-based food industry is heading towards?
I'd say the market challenges, at least for us, and it's going out there and educating consumers why they should give us a shot. A lot of these consumers are burnt out. They've tried dairy alternatives. They don't either taste good or they're going to bring up does this have oils? Does it have thickness? This is not good for me. I'd say those are the biggest market challengers for us.
Bryan, in the beginning, we took the position that the consumer is intelligent and they're going to check the ingredients. They're going to trust their taste buds. And when sort of the hype of the industry, quiets down, that's what you're left with. Do you have a good product with good ingredients that taste good or not? Right. Yeah. I think what we've seen is that there were a lot of companies that, in our humble opinion, took a different position. They said, you know what, the consumer will eat whatever I put in front of them if I call it plant-based or if I call it dairy-free. And the truth is that's not the case. We see that in the macro trends and the numbers. So when we look at what is the future of plant-based, it is companies like ours that are focused on that health and wellness, clean label, real food.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I know I've mentioned the ravioli, but you have like the cream cheese and the cheese spreads and it's not here in Charlotte yet. So tell us how you're going to get global domination with Shires.
That's a great question. So and Josh, piggyback on anything I forget, but early on, we also, this goes to Josh's credit, we took the position that we're going to, get it right. And so that's what we've been doing. So we've been testing up here in New England, right? Toughest folks ever to satisfy
both
food, ingredients, New Englanders. And we've been doing that. We're winning with our consumers up here. And so it's solidifying our home base, right, which is the Northeast, so New England and New York, and then spreading down south to places like Charlotte and, all the way down to Florida. Do you have an Earth Fair in your area, Bryan?
We sure do, yeah.
So we're in talks with Earth Fair right now. That would be a great
I love it
to pick up. So stay tuned.
Come on, Earth Fair. Let's see it. That is great news. I'm excited to see that. It is getting those toeholds into the different, more sustainable things like the Earth Fairs and the Whole Foods of the world on that front. Did you guys start out at the farmers market circuit a little bit, or how did you grow into your first couple stores?
Oh, well, we did a test in like local farmer markets here, but we didn't sit at farmers markets for an entire year. I probably did like one or two in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. We had a great product from day one, and we we have a lot of co-ops up here in New England.
Yeah.
And honestly, this goes back to us being naive about the CPG industry. I just went knocking on doors and I just said, hey, here's our product. Will you bring it on? And we picked up a bunch of co-ops. So we would just, deliver them in coolers throughout New England. And then from there, you end up having a portfolio of, let's say, like 25 independent stores that attracted a distributor. And then we worked with that distributor. They helped us pick up some more accounts. Someone said, hey, you should get into Whole Foods. And I was like, yeah, we want to get into Whole Foods, but that's like down the line. We have some more work to do. They said, you should just see if they consider this is a really great product, bringing it on. And this was before the Amazon days, by the way. And so, it's been a while now, but I think it was the middle of 2014. I presented to Whole Foods, not the region, but back then you could present to each store. They had foragers. Each store had a forager, and 3 out of the 40 stores brought it on that year. And then we ended up growing slowly into other Whole Foods as we continue to do well there. And that's
great news. From
day one is, how we've grown is just, you got to go out, you got to meet your customers, you got to demo, and you have to have a good product.
That's right. And it's interesting because the thing that dawned on me probably in the past 2 years is there's a hidden world of the community supported agriculture, the CSA, and it's more prominent in other parts of the country than I guess where I grew up and stuff. But finding ways to partner with the CSAs and the co-ops, like you said, is so key and instrumental. I know when I was doing a little research for the podcast, it seemed like, Adam, you've got a little bit more of a banking financial background. So what other tip or advice would you give to the budding entrepreneurs that are trying to get into this plant-based sector?
So, Josh and I have made a great team. We're business partners. We're also life partners. So Josh is my husband. He's focused on the creative side, the branding, the product creation. I've been focused more on the sales and marketing side. On the finance side, we've always had our eye on our cost of goods, right? And for a time in the CPG industry, that was sort of ignored in a way. It was like, oh, well, if you hit a certain scale, then the problem takes care of itself. And I think with my banking background, I was like, well, this just doesn't make any sense to me. If you have a problem with it today, you're going to have a problem with it tomorrow. And so we really focused on getting efficient in our manufacturing, getting our costs right, so that as we grow, it's not a catch up. It's as we grow, it actually, expands exponentially. And so the advice is, you got to go to market with a product that's profitable. If you think it's going to become profitable later, there's so many other costs that come into play that you're going to have a very difficult time. Maybe not impossible, but very difficult.
Yep. I agree. I tell a lot of the people that I've helped, go and sell the first 10, make sure you can make some money before you even worry about the LLC and some of that stuff. That is awesome. You guys have done a great job, helping tackle the scaling up and growing this business. I mean, congratulations on your successes there. Is there any peek behind the curtain or exciting things that are in the new product category that are in your pipeline that you might be able to share with some of our listeners?
Ooh, good question. Josh,
that's a good question because we're pretty secretive about how we operate.
And that's okay if you can't.
I mean, we're always working on, we always have R&D going on. Adam has to suffer through a lot of dinners of if this is going to work or not. But, that's how our ravioli was born. And it takes a little bit longer for us because, like I said, it's all health and wellness focused. So we're always like, oh, well, we can't use that ingredient to get this texture or this and that. And I think our focus right now is growing the brand Shires, the products that we have, our cream cheese line, our cheese spread line, and our ravioli line. We'll probably extend the peek behind the curtain is we'll extend our flavors. We're going to see how these 3 flavors do. And then we already have a couple new flavors lined up that we would potentially launch at the end of this year.
That's awesome. Well, we're excited to try them when they get into Earth Fare and our local food stores. I got two quick questions as we're closing in on wrapping this up. What keeps you both motivated and passionate about this plant-based industry that you're in? You guys have been doing this, it sounds like, for 10 plus years now. So congrats, but you wake up every day. What keeps you motivated?
Continue to repeat the message of when I go through a grocery store, I get so irritated and upset that there's still a lot of brands out there that have oils, thickeners, and gums. It irritates me. I'm a consumer, right? Like, I'm also a consumer. I'm not just creating a product and trying to sell it. Like, I want to be able to also go out there and buy other dairy alternatives that we're not making and enjoy them, but right now I'm not seeing a lot of that. It's starting to happen. There's definitely some, a brand that we like to buy for plant-based milk, because we actually stopped drinking plant-based milk because of all the oils, thickeners, and gums that are in plant-based milk. But you have Mulk is a great brand out there. And then we also have a local company out of Maine in our backyard. It's also milk, but it's MYLK, right? Am I spelling that? Am I saying that right, Adam? That's what keeps me going is knowing that we have a product that people are looking for, and those emails at the end of the day, getting those calls, getting those letters where people say, thank you for not putting these crazy ingredients in here that are unnecessary. That's what keeps me going.
That's awesome. Anything you want to add, Adam?
I would just echo that. I mean, it's when we go out and do a sampling and the customer feedback, like anytime you're having a bad day as an entrepreneur in food, go to a sampling. If you have a good product, you're going to be completely re-energized after that. And the feedback from customers, it's a tough business. It's a real tough business.
It is.
But when we know we're solving a problem, we have a product that we can stand behind, and we're in the trenches. I mean, we're having fun. It is fun. It's a competition, right. and we know we have a winning product, and our consumers keep us going.
That's right. And Josh, my favorite's the Elmhurst milks. They just one or two ingredients. Those are phenomenal. Yep. But I honestly have the Nutter machine now. You have to check out the NUTR machine, and I'm making my own and having fun mixing up different flavors and stuff. But yeah, it's very exciting. I can't wait to try some of your cheeses, and especially the ravioli when I can get my hands on it.
We're gonna send you to Bryan.
And my question is, as we wrap this up here, is how can we help Shire's Naturals grow? So what can the community that's listening and watching to this do to help you, and what are the best ways to get in touch?
What has always helped us grow is to contact your local retailer and say, hey, listen, we want this product. And if you're looking, well, what do I give them? Email us, info@eatshires.com. We'll send you a sales sheet that you take in and say, hey, will you please bring this on? That has been the biggest help for us growing. When a store hears from the consumer that I want this product, and when they hear it enough times, they're like, well, let me give it a shot. So that's a huge help. Of course, Bryan, we're always raising money, so we are currently fundraising. So if there's some angels out there or family offices listening, reach out to us. Same thing at info@eatshires.com. We're just getting ready to close out this round, but we're always looking for that next one.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And so again, it's Eat Shires, EATSHIRES.com. That's how you can check out the website, reach out to the team, say hi. And are you selling it on your website as well?
We are. Yeah, you can buy.
Awesome. So we have to just place our orders and get it shipped to us until you can get in our local stores. So that is awesome. Thank you guys so much for jumping on here and hanging out with us.
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you for having us, Bryan.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Plant Based on Fire. Thank you so much, Adam and Josh. We really appreciate you joining and sharing your insights and experiences with our community. Until next time, everybody, keep that fire burning.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Plant Based on Fire. We hope you enjoyed learning about the innovative plant-based businesses we featured today and got inspired to support them on their journey. Remember, plant-based eating isn't just a trend. It's a way of life that benefits your health, the environment, and animals. By choosing plant-based foods, you're making a positive impact on the world and helping to create a better and more compassionate future. If you want to join the Real Men Eat Plants community and get even more resources to help you go and stay plant-based, check out our blog, podcasts, and 30-day challenge at realmeneatplants.com. Thank you for tuning in to Plant-Based on Fire, brought to you by Real Men Eat Plants. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us a review, and let us know what you think of this episode. Don't forget to tag us at Plant-Based on Fire when you share this episode in your preferred social media. Wish to be a guest? We need to know about your plant-based business. Email us at pbof@realmeneatplants.com. We love hearing from our listeners. Thank you to our guests and to you, our listeners, for your support, and see you next time.